Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It is Thursday, February 17th, and we are back for a little bit of a baseball preview. TJ Pinger, Richie Barnes, and Mike Martin Jr. making, I think this is your third or fourth time on the show. I'm not sure, but how you doing, Coach?
Everything's good, TJ. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We always appreciate you coming on and talking a little bit with us. Maybe the last time you were on was the beginning of last season. I don't remember exactly, but another opening day. You've gone through quite a few opening days through your career as like a kid growing up, I'm sure, and then a player playing, and now, assistant coach for a bunch of years, and now this as a head coach. Like, is it still like exciting? Is it still like, man, finally back again? Or talk to us a little about opening day.
Well, it is exciting, but it's extremely nerve-wracking too, because having been terrible as a player on opening day, and my old man telling me, you'll say, what are you doing, son, more times on opening day than you will for a whole month. Because guys, they just get so amped up. They've been so long since they've played. And then you throw in, full capacity and, get Hauser rocking. I'm looking forward to watching our guys perform. But, I do not in opening day it's just different. There's something different about it.
Ready to get through the weekend. So there's a lot less. Is there more hype around an opening day game or like a big, the Miami, Florida games?
There's three of them. You got the opening day, and then you get the first rivalry game, and then you get the first rivalry game or the first road game, and then the first rivalry game, then the first rivalry road game on the road, and then first postseason game, and then, Omaha. There's a bunch of, levels to it. And, we've just got to get them to where they're comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
They did a good job last year in some of those big games, and we haven't talked to you since then. But obviously, the week of the year probably was the beat down of Florida, and then the beat down of Miami 3 times. I know we talked with you quite a while ago about those, but how good did that week feel? And was it almost like, could you even and I'll double that question up and make you answer too, but was it some of it a little bit surreal? Like, you think about like Kobe getting into a hot streak on the court and he's just like, man, everything I'm shooting is going in, or MJ doing that or whatever, or a guy getting was some of it like, man, this is pretty insane that we just keep killing things right now.
Well, with the Sunday game against Virginia Tech on the road was what kind of started it. We got hot. We had made the move, because we were scuffling so bad offensively. That's when I called a staff meeting late Saturday night. I said, men, this is sink or swim. This is what we're going to do. We got to give it a whirl because we got to find some more contact and kind of spice things up, if you will. And that's when we went to Wyatt Kroll hitting, Parker Messick hitting, and Davis Hare. And, we win that game and then come play Florida at home, and things went our way. We jumped on them early and we pitched it very well. And, and then went to Miami, and that was something that, is really, really hard to do. And, it was a great stretch. And, we're 8-2 so far against our rivals. And, we want to keep that trend, positive towards the Noles.
Yeah. And Coach, it seems like this is your first somewhat normal year entering a college baseball season, although there is some uncertainty with everything going on. But one thing that's not uncertain is high expectations for Florida State. The ACC coaches picked you guys to finish first place in the league this year. What is it different about entering a league or entering a season with such high expectations, especially when it comes from the coaches? Obviously, the media, they have their polls as well. But to have your peers say, I think Florida State might be the team to beat this year, that's got to be pretty cool, but also comes with pretty high expectations, as I said.
It does, but the expectations don't change around here. The tradition's built, the guys that came before our current players, and the great coaches that have been here, and our fans expect it, and that's what we want. It's kind of like the Yankees. Why are they good all the time? Well, it's because it's expected, and we don't want those expectations to be anything other than winning 40 games and getting to Omaha, and we want to win the last game, just like every other club that's come before us. But we're pretty good. And, guys, we're only going to be as good as the guys accepting their roles. We've got a lot of, talent, especially on the pitching staff, and guys, there's not going to be innings for everybody in the way that they want them, whether it's a starting role or, whatever the case may be. So as long as they accept and understand that we got to stay even keeled. The highs can't be too high and the lows can't be too low. I feel like we've got a chance to be, really a good club.
And coach, we'll get into the arms on the staff because you guys seem loaded this year, but the guy catching them is going to be a little bit of a difference for the team this year. Matthew Nelson obviously has moved on. Huge shoes to fill. How's it looking behind the plate right now as far as who's going to step in to replace him?
Yeah, Colton Vincent won the job, and he's a guy that was with us last year, but Mike Metcalf's done a fantastic job along with Colton's hard work. We're going to get probably a little bit more defensively out of Colton than we did out of Nelly. Colton can really, really do it behind the plate. And I promise you guys, I've never seen a guy throw. He's throwing out 80% of the runners this spring training, and we've run a ton. And he's got a strong arm. It's very accurate. He's playing with confidence. No, we're not going to get the bat that we got with Nelson, but we feel like from Alex Terrell and some other guys, Logan Lacey, we can hang in there. It's not going to be sit back and wait for a home run because we couldn't run and we swung and missed too much last year. We're going to be able to put guys in motion because we have a different looking offense, a totally different looking offense.
Talk to us a little about, Richie alluded to it, but talk to us a little bit about the pitchers. You returned some guys that were great last year, but just talk about the staff overall and your thoughts there.
Well, you got at the top Friday and Saturday, you got, Parker Messick, Bryce Hubbard, and those two are cut from the greatness. We call it the greatness cloth, the way they go about their business, the way they stay hungry and humble, even though they have success. They know there's always room for improvement. And then you throw Ross Dunn, who's got the big equipment, but he didn't, field his position, didn't hold runners. The game kind of sped up on him last year. He was as dominant as anybody on our pitching staff this spring training. So he's going to go third. Those are three straight lefties. We're also going to have a left-handed closer in Jonas Galero. He came back with a changeup that's made him a totally different guy. He's always been able to spin it, fastballs in, he's competitive. He holds runners. He fields his position. He's a perfect ninth inning guy. He's got the experience to go along with it as well. So, then we've got the Jackson Bowmeisters, coming out of the bullpen. He could be a fifth starter. Jackson Nizu could be a fifth starter, but, we will find somebody to those 4 or 5 starts that we have in a double midweek situation. But we're just going to, again, keep them fresh, keep them sharp. The game's going to take a little longer. I'm going to get my old butt to the mound as fast as I can, but we're going to use a ton of guys to do that, to get them out there. And everybody has their role. And if they accept it and, we stay healthy, we'll be, right where we want to be.
Nobody's going to complain about extra time inside of Dick Hauser. Just don't do any of those 16, 17, 18 inning games on us this year. I know those are those are the ones that they just about kill people. Some transfers. Alex Torrell from Miami, Oklahoma State. We got a guy from there. UF picked up a guy. People hear about the transfer portal and think about those things like with football, but talk to us a little bit about what that's been like and navigating that, transfers in this new kind of age of college athletics.
And it's real. And, you got to give guys second chances, right? Everybody makes a mistake. And, a couple of guys went to the dark side.
They got their heads beat in last year and wanted to come play with us.
Right. So, you're always worried about continuity and camaraderie and what's the clubhouse going to be like when you bring in anybody. And now you're talking about rival, transfers, and like, oh my gosh, could be, a disaster. But we had to do it, and it's worked out 70% better than I ever dreamed it would. And I mean that, like that. I've had Reese Albert and Kyle McMullen and guys come up to me and say, "Coach, that is the best clubhouse I've been in." We brought in Brock Mathis at the break, catcher at Oklahoma State. He's just a good, person, and they want to win. This is their last hurrah at it. And, they're all Brett Roberts and Terrell. And, it's been a dream so far. And again, they don't care. Look, we're going to do our thing. We're going to do it together. And, doesn't matter where we came from. We're Seminoles now, and I'm really excited for them.
Yeah, and Coach, you kind of hit on it a little bit there, but what was that initial phone call like when they're in the portal? Was it you and your staff contacting them? Was it them contacting you? How does that happen? Because obviously with college football, anyone goes anywhere and nothing's a surprise anymore. But to get a player from both of your key rivals, that's pretty interesting, at least from a fan perspective.
Yeah, it's a different day and age, and we constantly we're checking the portal. And the reason we had people are like, well, why'd you put yourself in that predicament? I'm like, well, we recruit real early. So there was a long period of time in which we're recruiting, and the kids are like, no, because we don't know who the head coach is going to be. So that put us in a pinch to where we're like, oh my gosh. And well, the COVID happens and the portal happens. And, it's been quite a ride. I get the job and have a good club and get shut down and small draft. And another year, here comes more COVID and, a bigger draft, but it's still small. And, all the, guys are bouncing from place to place. It's just a totally different animal. And, but again, I like the club. I like the camaraderie, and we're excited to get going. They're tired of playing each other.
Yeah, and there used to be a saying in college football recruiting, especially that if you're not first, you're last. To steal one from Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights, but now if you finish second, who knows? Maybe 2-3 years down the line, that kid may fall into your lap. So definitely something interesting to keep an eye on.
That I learned from my old man is not for any other reason, just it's the right thing to do. Don't you ever berate a kid if he doesn't choose Florida State. Don't you ever, you be professional and you do it the right way. And I, told the guys, not knowing that the portal was ever going to happen, that's the way I was taught. Look, if the guy, doesn't, choose us, don't you dare berate him. You be professional and kind and courteous and wish him the best of luck. And, and that's what happened with a couple of these guys.
And I think a lot of our fans for all sports could take that same advice. Just because he doesn't pick your school is not the end of the world, people. Don't worry about it.
We benefit from it at times too. I mean, Dalvin Cook, was a Gator until he was, he actually was a Tiger first, and then, Florida, until sign, was a Gator. And so, I mean, as bad as it is at times with us, it's never been that bad. Like we've never lost
Yeah.
So,
and last thing, Coach, and I'll let TJ close it out here, but you've been on our show several times. Someone who's been on here multiple times is the former Booster president, Michael Alford, now athletic director. Obviously, he was named into that role early this year. Just thoughts on him overall. Obviously, I know you guys have a great working relationship, but it had to be nice to have someone familiar named athletic director, with the vacancy and the questions kind of looming.
Yeah, Mike's been great. He's a baseball guy. He knows what it's supposed to look like, what the facilities are supposed to look like. He comes to practice all the time. I love to talk baseball with him, and he's on it. We get where we're at. Football's got to be taken care of. Basketball's got to be taken care of, and then you'll get down to us. But he truly believes that, it's a money making. He was at Mississippi State where they just sold 13,000 season tickets. Yeah, they won the national championship, but they hadn't done anything, and really that great. They got some tradition, but they sold 10,000 season tickets last year. So it's he wants to do that, and he's got great ideas. He's got vision, and he's been a blessing for us.
We definitely enjoyed having him here. I was glad that he was named the AD. I know you're super busy, and we'll let you go here, but how motivating is it to watch some of the runs that the other programs have gone on? Like when I'm watching this game where Lonnie and them are beating the heck out of Tennessee right now, and then right there beside you guys, marking them win the national championship. I mean, how much like, because I mean, your guys are competitive too, and when they see the girls make the College World Series on their side, does that kind of like rile them up and say like, all right, we gotta get going here and do some stuff? And also, like, how are you able to follow any of what's going on when you're in season, or is it too like head down and blinders on while you're coaching?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of, unfortunately, free time from here until the season ends. But yeah, it's inspiring. You set the bar. I remember Coach Bowden sending my old man like in 1980. He made his first club that made it to the College World Series, and And then Coach Bowden sent him a handwritten note. Thank you for setting the bar. He said, we're going to get there and we're going to be, something that you're proud of. And everybody takes pride in their sport. And we've got a lot of great coaches on campus and great teams. And, we're all in this together, because if you go back and look, when we've been really good, it goes hand in hand with football and basketball, and everybody's, back in the day when we had it all rolling. And, I really truly feel we're going to get back to that, to where we're the dominant, sports and athletic department in the country.
Yeah. I'll ask you this and I'll let you go, but we haven't chatted with you since Coach Bowden's passing. And so you brought him up. And so I'll ask you and then we'll get you out of here. But can you just tell us, I know it's hard to maybe encapsulate in like a 30-second answer or whatever, but can you just talk a little bit about Coach Bowden? Specifically, I've tried to ask everybody that's come on, since he passed. And I think it's fun to kind of like compile some of those stories and stuff. So I know you could go forever and you got some things to attend to, so you don't have to, but I know this is putting you on the spot. Can you talk a little bit about Coach Bowden?
I'll talk about Coach Bowden, till the cows come home. He was this genuine, loving, caring, God couldn't make a better human being. But he was extremely witty. People, that didn't really know him, know how witty he was. A couple of stories. I grew up down the street from where he lived. And so one time I was late for curfew and came by his house a little too fast. And so I was pumping gas a couple of days later. And he says, "Hey, hey, Coach, how are you?" He goes, "I see you're still driving that white Blazer." I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." He's like, "You need to slow it down." I said, "Got it." I said, went outside or whatever else to take the dog. I forget what he was, but he said, "You came flying by there. Don't make me call you old man." I said, "Yes, sir. I promise I won't ever do it again." And then I had to take him to see somebody. The head of the FCA director was in hospice, and he was a longtime friend of Coach Bowden's. And so I went to pick him up. Somebody contacted me. "Can you get Coach Bowden over here to see him? He's not going to make it." And I said, "Sure." So I went and I called him, Coach Bowden. Of course, he answered, and I said, "Can I come get you?" And he said, "Yes." So I'm coming up the steps. I park and I'm coming up the steps, and I said, "Hey, Coach." I said, "Looking great." I said, "Getting around great." He said, "Yeah, not bad for a 9-year-old. He goes, "I bet you won't make that number." So, when we talked, at length, get to, where the hospice was, and we talked at length about this and that and the world, and how he wants to make sure that we're trying to make molders of men. He said, "There's not enough people out there. That's why this world's going to hell in a handbasket. We're not doing right by the kids." And I said, I learned from a guy who thought just like you thought and believed what you believed. And yes, we are passing that along.
Man, that's awesome. Well, Mike, we definitely appreciate you for taking some time. We're excited to tune in and see the games this weekend. I'm coming up next week, so excited to get up there and see it in person. If we can ever pull Richie up to Tallahassee again, we'll get him to a game. But thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing a few minutes with us, and we really, really appreciate it, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it. Go Noles.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Coach.
Go Noles. Mike Martin Jr. He's the best. And I'll tell you, I'm excited for baseball, but it really doesn't get much better than those Coach Bowden stories at the very end. That was absolutely
phenomenal. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm really excited for their season. Obviously, they open up this week. We're excited for them to get rolling. James Madison tomorrow at 6 p.m., Saturday at 2, Sunday at 1. And then they play Samford. Speaking of Coach Bowden, they play Samford next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well. And I'll be up there for Friday, Saturday. I think I'm coming back Saturday night, but won't be up there for the last one. But they're awesome. Thanks to Harlan for setting that up as always. But really, really cool to chat with Meat. I want to do something else real special. We won't be on here a ton longer, but I do want to chat with somebody that's very special to me, somebody that I'm very excited to chat with. I've got David from is it the Brisas company or is it just Brisas? Make sure I say this right. Don't mess it up too bad. But the official empanada of Florida State. And we're going to talk about that. I'm excited for it. We brought him on for a reason on this episode. But David, how's it going today?
Thanks, CJ. Richie, nice to formally meet you as well.
Absolutely, man.
Really pleasured to be here right now. I think it's a great opportunity to clarify some of the cadence around Brisas. I think I want to make sure that the story is told from the perspective of Florida State alums, actually, that came together to come up with a project that we feel will become a part of FSU's culture, both for game day and for the student body and for alums. So Brisas is actually, however you want to call it. So it's technically, the original name is Brisas Colombianas Bakery and Restaurant. And that was just a little too long back in like the 90s. So I convinced my dad to shorten it to Brisas. And then the Brisas Corp, or the Brisas umbrella, consists of the bakery restaurant side of the business, which is where we started, the wholesale side of the business, which is Brisas Empanadas, which is the official empanada of Florida State Athletics. And then soon in the near future, Brisas Direct, which will be our e-commerce platform for people that want to bring empanadas to their household.
Awesome. David Orozco, I'm saying that right? Orozco?
Yeah, I like it.
That's not bad. I stopped by and we had, I tried everything. I needed a nap afterwards, and then he sent me home with even more food. But when I was in Orlando a couple of weeks ago, I stopped by and tried everything. And I told you this then, and we talked about this on the Spaces you were on as well. When I first heard, like, oh, official empanada, like, what are we doing? Like, why are we? What are we doing? Like, what does that even mean? Like an official empanada? Like, why are we doing this? Like, can we just win game? But then I sat down and we talked about it, and we really learned like the mission. That's really kind of what I wanted to bring you on because you are an FSU alum. You are very passionate about Florida State. And so I wanted to kind of chat with you about some of those things. But before we do any of that, Richie, you live in the same city this exists. And let me just tell you something. This Nutella empanada, like I actually made a joke about it when they come on the Spaces. I was like, well, Brendan's going to be upset if his Chick-fil-A cookie isn't there, whatever. This Nutella empanada blows away like Chick-fil-A cookie. I mean, I'm not going to crap on Chick-fil-A, but this was so good. It wasn't even funny. He sent me home with like a whole package of them, and Kara was like, "Hey, you want to eat dinner?" And I was like, I had like 4 of those empanadas when you weren't looking. So no, I'm good on dinner tonight. So I'm telling you, the product is great. The first, as far as we know, first NCAA or Power 5 empanada, official empanada that exists. But the cool part about this is that the people can get these right now. We brought you on strategically when Mike Martin was on, when we were talking baseball. But talk to us a little bit about where people can get these empanadas, like already. Like this can already happen.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give a ton of credit, first of all, to Florida State. The fact that the university was so open to this idea, I think speaks volumes to how visionary leadership is at the school, both within academia and athletics. And the deal, long story short, because it's a little bit more intricate than the explanation I'm going to give you, is right now, Florida State baseball is actually going to have our empanadas for the entire season for all home games and applicable tournament games. We're working on a solution for Florida State softball. If you're aware, their concessions area has a smaller footprint. So we're still trying to figure out the right solution, but be on the lookout. We should be there for at least towards the end of the season, maybe some of the more impactful games. I know the Oklahoma State game is one that we've got marked on our calendar. Obviously the NCAA tournament, because we assume that we're runner up, right? Like we have to at least make the tournament, and no pressure to the girls, but we're the best in the country. That's how we feel about Florida State softball. And then in the fall, we're going to be in women's soccer, obviously national champions. So I don't need to say much there. And empanadas at Doak. I mean, if that doesn't get you excited,
let's
then
go.
I don't know what to say then. Like maybe you're not really, the Seminole you think you are, but no, all jokes aside, empanadas at Doak is a reality, all home games. The first home opener the first game, which is the home opener, is going to be, I believe, I can never pronounce their name right. Is it Duquesne?
Duquesne. Yep.
Yeah, there it is.
I've been saying like Duquesne and everything else.
Yeah. I was like, is it like Duke but plural? Like, I'm not sure, but yeah. So for Duquesne, we've got empanadas will be available, and I don't want to tip my hat too much because we're working on a couple of really cool concepts, but there's some ideas being thrown around in the brainstorming room between us and Legends, which is the food and beverage and hospitality provider for Florida State. They came on the scene replacing the incumbent, and they're very open to a lot of exotic ideas. I might get in trouble for getting ahead of myself, but you know what? Let's get the people excited for football.
Let's go.
We're talking about doing some form of like away game empanada. So depending on who you play, we do like a special batch empanada for that game. So for example, if it's like the NC State game or if it's the Louisiana game, we would go with like barbecue for North Carolina, empanada.
Let's go.
Or for Louisiana, like a Cajun style, like a jambalaya empanada. Obviously, for the UF game, we're gonna have to do a gator tail empanada, like no questions asked.
Yes, sir.
So real creative on the football front because it's got, you know, obviously the largest attendance available, so we can get creative with it. But in the meantime, to answer your original question, TJ, for people that will be visiting Florida State and Tallahassee within the spring semester, definitely every baseball game, working on softball, and then looking forward to the fall for women's soccer and football.
You mentioned that's awesome. No, I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute for a second. You mentioned kind of like the diversity, inclusion side of things that Florida State's been pretty forward with, and you really liked that they were, you know, kind of leading the front here. Talk to us a little bit through that, like how important that is, because it's not just an empanada, right? Like this is bigger picture. Talk to us kind of through some of that.
Yeah. Thank you for that layup because it's my favorite part of it's my favorite part to talk about. My family is actually immigrants from South America, from Medellin, Colombia. So as a lot of you guys might know from like modern media, Colombia is portrayed in a lot of dramatic fashions. Never really empanadas, you would think first glance. We're probably thinking more like Netflix and like Cartagena and like traveling. But what we intended to do when we created this side of Brisas, which is what Florida State was so open about, was our real mission. Like Brisas is really focused on bringing our cultures and the people that we represent to the masses and to markets that don't have access to said environments. So Tallahassee, Florida is a great example of that. Tallahassee is an incredibly diverse city. You've got politics, you've got the university, you've got the local economy. It's very inclusive. Empanadas, from my understanding, are available in Tallahassee, but it's not the same as being in like a Miami or an Orlando or a Tampa, right? And a lot of that has to do with back-end supply chain. Essentially, America as a country has really prioritized the growth of the Eastern Seaboard and the West Coast when it comes to multiculturalness and when it comes to the inclusion of said foods. In other words, unless you don't have access to a local community of said food, you probably won't ever try said food. So in this particular case, empanadas is something that unifies South American, Latin American, Hispanic, Afro-Caribbean, Central American cultures. Every country in anything in the Southern Hemisphere probably has an empanada or something like it. So Brisas aims to bring these products to the masses. The Florida State deal, as much as it is an incredible opportunity for us because it's our alma mater, is really our flagship proof of concept that, hey, we can bring in food, but also education to an environment that already has familiarity with it, but would really benefit from having true access to said culture or food. And it's an incredible feeling. It really is, because, you know, maybe I go to Florida State and I propose the idea and they look at me and say, hey, you know what, Dave, it sounds like a great idea, but we're not ready. You know, it's too many levers to pull. It's too much of an obstacle to overcome. And it was quite the opposite. Athletics, Legends, the school itself. I have mentors within the College of Business from when I was undergrad. Anybody ever ran the idea of, I jumped at it and said, when do we sign up? Like, when are we doing this? Like ASAP. And I originally thought that we were going to start for August for the fall season because of the amount of time it would have taken between implementation and getting everybody on board. And Nope. Signatures happened in January, and we were announcing through FSU Spaces a couple weeks ago. So everything went really fast because of Florida State's and all the associated parties' willingness to embrace diversity.
Yeah, and Dave, shame on me. I'm from Central Florida. I've been back here since 2012, and I have not been to the Brisas here in Orlando. I just looked it up. It's 12 minutes from my house with traffic. So I will definitely get there within the next week.
No, and I don't blame you, Richie.
Tomorrow, or you're dead.
I'll meet you tomorrow. Let's grab some lunch.
Opening day, let's go.
Hey, I may stop there after work tomorrow because before I go to Universal. So we'll figure that out for sure.
I don't blame you, Richie, and that's actually by design. So you also understand we're really a northern-based company. Out of the 7 restaurant locations, there's only 1 in Orlando. So we have 6 in New Jersey. We have the official empanada of the New York Red Bulls, which is our MLS partnership where we prove that an official empanada designation works in the market. And Orlando was always our experimental kind of city because it's so multicultural. There's so much tourism that we really used Orlando as our research and development hub to get recipes down, to get combos down. It's kind of like, if you've ever heard stories of people that work for CPG or like big firms, they'll choose like random cities across America to roll out products before they go national with it. That's essentially what Orlando's been for us. And due to the pandemic, New York and New Jersey economically just shut down in 2020. And we pivoted to really bet on Florida and the Southeast. And that's why you're now going to see our presence grow dramatically within Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, et cetera.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that before I send it back to TG to close this out. Is the next steps, because you just mentioned you really benefited. You know, the pandemic obviously in a lot of states really hurt the hospitality industry, and Florida was no exception for a while. But obviously, things opened back up a little quicker here. But what are the next steps, whether it be e-commerce? I know you mentioned a lot of the Florida metros that are going on. I mean, am I going to see you on Shark Tank in the next 6 months or so? Because it's exciting to hear, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate the forward thinkingness of it. It's pretty simple. Our growth plan is separated in 2 divisions, wholesale, and that's the one we've been developing since 2018. And with the wholesale division, we're able to essentially open up shop and bring Brisas anywhere in the country that has a road, literally, because all of our products are fully pre-cooked and frozen. You literally just have to put it in an oven or a deep fryer and it's good to go. So on the wholesale side, we go into metros, we set up relationships with distributors, with your local restaurants, bakeries, clubs, school systems, airports. And then you as the consumer go eat a Brisas empanada, and you might not even know it's a Brisas empanada because we do a lot of private label where the local chain of bakeries calls it X empanada instead of Brisas empanada, and they have the right to use it as a Brisas empanada. But if they choose to keep it as their own in-house proprietary branding, no harm, no foul. On the other side of the business, what you alluded to is the e-commerce platform, Brisas Direct. We actually have had it complete since 2019. We held off on going live with it because at the time, New York was our only focus, and we felt that it may have been overboard to just do e-commerce and already have such a heavy presence in the New York metro. Pandemic happens, everybody's stuck at home. Nobody's going to restaurants anymore. So our revenues just shot. We pivot to Florida. Florida at the time and still is, I'm pretty sure it's the state where the most amount of people are moving to in the entire country. And that means people are coming in from different parts of the country who may already be familiar with our products. So it's less of a learning curve. It's a lower barrier of entry. And we realized, okay, we got to turn on Brisas Direct, but we got to do it the right way and at the right time. So we used 2021 really as our getting our feet set in the state, setting up a couple of key partnerships that we needed. Brisas Direct and our e-commerce platform should be up and running by the end of the spring semester. So within the next 3 to 4 months, if you go to Florida State, you try our product and you say, I need this in my house. Like TJ loves the Nutella empanada, right? I don't want TJ driving an hour and a half to the nearest Brisas just for a Nutella empanadas. I mean, it'd be great to catch up because we've created a cool relationship, but that's not fair to everybody else that is within driving distance of Orlando, but doesn't have access to the product, right? So it's like we tease you, we get you excited, and then You go home and nothing, right? So that's why we need to turn on our e-commerce platform before the end of this semester, at least before the start of football season, guaranteed.
So I know you said you can, bake it, throw in a deep fryer. Can I throw this thing in an air fryer? Because I feel like everyone's on the air fryer rage these days.
Yes, from experience, yes. So I'm just telling you, those Nutellas are great. Yeah, I've done it.
Hey, TJ answered it for me. Our entire thing is, if you've never had our products, you should still be able to prepare the product, consume the product, and then tell people how much you love the product. And I'm pretty sure TJ's done like all three pretty well. So it's working.
He was telling me private text messages like the day he left Orlando. So
I was like, dude, this is so good. I mean, I was gonna say like that timing is perfect too, because everybody watching or listening knows this, but like we're expecting number 3 and like May. So like into the spring semester, I'm gonna be home from work for a few weeks. I'll probably put on some LBs just when the baby gets here, but I'll be ordering those Brisas direct. Like, yeah, I can't wait for that. Like, I'm excited. Yeah. So we wanted to have you on, for a couple of reasons. One, wanted to be able to tell people a little bit more about what Brisas was. They see a news drop or they see a tweet, official Empanada of FSU, and just like me, they probably thought like, what in the world is this? But when I came to the restaurant, I fell in love with your food, but I also really loved your story. Everything you talked about, from the fact that you were a Florida State alum, you are passionate about the school, you're passionate about, again, this being bigger than just an empanada, bigger than just, something that people can consume. It reaches different levels of diversity and bringing different cultures together and different things like that. And I fell in love not only with the food, but also your story and what you guys are doing. And again, if you're watching this, if you're watching the baseball preview show, you can go pick this up at the baseball game tomorrow, this weekend. I'm going to go grab some when I'm in town. This is, this was really cool to me. It was really important to kind of get you on and talk about it a little bit. We'd love to have you back as you kind of have more stuff coming out, more stuff developing. But this was important for me to do because I ate a lot of empanadas that weekend that we got together. So, and I'm telling you, it wasn't just the Nutella ones. Like the carne ones were great. Yeah. They have some bread and stuff there. Like they got a lot of good stuff going on, Richie. You got to go make sure
you got to have the gluten-free ones, right? You got to have the corn shell empanada. Those are wild. Like those are nuts. We make this gluten-free yellow empanada that's like traditionally
crunchy,
Colombian.
Real crunchy.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
That'll be available at Florida State. They have the gluten-free vegetarian version, which is cheese with corn, and it's really good. That's actually in Tallahassee too for our gluten-free vegetarian crowd.
So Dave, I was messaging back and forth with my booster rep today. And it's different for me, just because I know him through the Alumni Association. So he's strictly for Orlando. And I was asking, man, I saw Mike was in Pensacola. Is he coming to Orlando? He's like, yeah, probably after the spring game. You might need to reach out to boosters and say, hey, do you need this event catered? Because it sounds like a match made in heaven. Because I was told Mike Norvell is taking the spring booster tour to Orlando. That's not been announced. I don't know if I can break that news, but rumor has it, I guess. But just throwing that out there.
Hey, if you got to edit it out later, no worries. But I will
we edit nothing here.
I will add that I'm a booster as well. And shout out, like if you want to do a cool shout out, if anybody knows Ryan Mullins is my booster rep for Florida State. Ryan and I had a conversation in October where we were talking about how great the Notre Dame game was. I can't believe we lost, but looking forward to the team pulling it through. We go on that crazy win streak. We're back, right? Like we're feeling the energy. And I'm telling Ryan, man, could you imagine if we're at the Miami game and we're eating empanadas because he knows about Brisas? And he goes, Dave, I love that idea. And I'm like, yo, Ryan, can you put me through to anybody at Boosters or anybody at Learfield IMG who runs the multimedia partnership? And Ryan Mullins was the first domino to tip to get the ball rolling to get empanadas at Florida State. So he's low-key a Florida State legend, and you would never know it. So I don't know if I was supposed to say that, Ryan, but shout out to Ryan Mullins. That's my boy.
All right.
Hey, the Florida State community takes care of each other, and I love seeing that. And I love hearing stories like that. And I hope everybody listening, especially if you're in the Central Florida area, go check them out and support NOLA-owned businesses. I'd love doing that any chance I can.
Yeah, you can also follow them on Twitter. I mean, there's other ways, right? Like if you're not in Orlando or you're not going to Tallahassee right away, obviously we'll get the Brisas direct info out to folks once this is live and going. You can also follow them on social media. They're very active on Twitter. That's where we all kind of linked up through the spaces. Do you have the handles right in front of? I mean, I think the Twitter is just at Brisas.
Yeah, at Brisas,
Brisas.
and then we're working on getting them all updated, but at Brisas NJ for Instagram and for Facebook, because obviously we started as a New Jersey company, but now that we're going national, we're trying to change the cadence to at Brisas. So at Brisas for the Twitter, that's where we're the most active, and that's really because we feel that Twitter is the easiest way to just have a normal conversation with people. Obviously, you've got your extremes on both sides, whether or not you're the craziest FSU fan of all time or just like a casual fan. We love having dialogue with anybody that wants to learn about Brisas and what we're doing with FSU.
Awesome. Well, David, we really appreciate you coming on. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you guys, anything that we can help push, anything that we can kind of let the people know about. You're always welcome here. And hopefully we're always welcome at the restaurant in Orlando. I'm going to go see Richie just so I can go get more empanadas.
So last thing then, since you're saying how we can help, I'm going to show you a little something that we did for our old fans of New Jersey. Little Brisas Ultra merch.
I love it.
Our first conglomerate or collective of Brisas fans up at Red Bull. They called themselves the Brisas Ultras. So we made merch for them and tagged it up. And then we handed it out. And people wear these to the games to watch Red Bull and eat empanadas. So sneak peek, we're going to be making some Brisas Knowles or some Brisas FSU merch. We got to come up with a cool tag for it, though. So we'll be on the lookout for those.
Is it a conflict of interest to get me a Orlando City Brisas shirt? Because I feel like we're not rivals, man. They play each other.
I mean, well, how about this? This is actually something very hot off the press. Just be on the lookout for something associated with Orlando City in the next couple of weeks.
I will be there. I cannot wait.
I was going to say, I can't wear
breaking all the news on here today.
I was going to say everything going on. I went up in the press box a couple of times last year, and obviously can't wear like an FSU shirt up in the press box or whatever. And so, but I can wear a Brisas shirt up in the press box. Like, there's no rule against that. So
there it is.
Give me one, and I'll wear that every time.
Brisas Ultra. That's you.
So
thanks, guys. I really appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, anytime, man. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out a little bit tonight.
Thank you, guys. Take care and go Noles.
Go Noles, buddy.
Thanks, Dave.
David Orozco, CEO of Brisas. That was fun. That was a fun interview. I mean, he's awesome. Yeah. I'm telling you, Richie, I am not putting on for the camera. Like, they were incredible. And he kept bringing on more stuff. I was like, I'm going to get yelled at. Like, Kara's going to yell at. But, like, everything he brought out was so good. So go check them out. If you're in the Orlando area, follow them on social media, interact with them. Their support, at the end of the day, they're supporting Florida State. Yeah. And so we try to, Noles take care of Noles. We try to support people that support FSU. And we try to use our platform for just that. I've got one more thing. I've got like a shout out, and then we'll get out of here. Do you have anything before we go?
I don't think so. I've been
getting married this week.
I'm going to a wedding this weekend, but
I can't believe it.
It's a local one. It's one of my employees. So I won't be long at the reception, won't be getting rowdy or anything like that, but definitely looking forward to going and supporting her.
Cool. Well, my good buddy, his name is Michael Lortz. He wrote a book that we talked about a while ago on here. It's called Curveball at the Crossroads. Let me make sure I'm getting that correct. He is doing a book. He's going to be up in Tallahassee this weekend doing a book signing. So he's an FSU graduate. Who also graduated from their creative writing department. He is doing a book signing at Midtown Reader Saturday at 2:30. I know that's during the game, but if you didn't get tickets to the game, go by, see them. He's doing a book signing there. I read the book. It's actually really, really good. Essentially, not to spoil too much of it, but a pitcher makes a deal with the devil and to be able to pitch a little bit better. And it's really, really good. Fiction book, obviously, but book signing there on Saturday, 2/19 from 2:30 to 3:30 at Midtown Reader. Richie, do you have anything else before we get out of here? I guess you gave yours.
I don't think so. Shout out, real quick, shout out Florida State basketball, the really gritty win against Clemson. And I want to get his name right because Ham did a phenomenal job. And it wasn't, it was completely natural. TJ, do you remember the name? One of the student managers was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And the team had found out just before that Clemson game. I think his name was Jamie Lynn. If that's wrong, I apologize.
Jared Lynn.
Jared Lynn. There it is. Thank you. Prayers to him and his family and the Florida State basketball community and the basketball managers. I saw the UF basketball student manager account has been, tweeting in his support for the past few days. Terrible news, such a young person, but you have all of Null Nation behind you, Jared, and we're going to fight this with you the best we can. Seeing him, how emotional he got, tells me how much that Jared means to not just Coach Ham, but the basketball team and the university as a whole. Not trying to end it on a down note, but I definitely wanted to mention that because that's, again, the theme of the last half of this podcast is Knowles supporting Knowles, and I definitely want him to know that we are there with you, our thoughts and prayers, and we'll fight any way we can.
Yeah. Shout out FSU softball team, who's again beating the heck out of Tennessee right now. It's 9-3 as we start to wrap up and get out of here. Shout out baseball, who starts their season. Swimming and diving's at the ACCs right now. I saw track and field's got some stuff going on, so ton going on. Check out Double Fries No Slaw for more information on that. We will be back on Sunday, normal time. No pop-ups between now and then. I mean, unless the legend wants to jump on. Then, we're always down. I'm not going to turn down somebody that's, wanted to come on here and talk. But we'll be back Sunday at normal time. Thank you guys for hanging out. Until next time, go Knowles.